Alors, ça va? Any progress on this one is working though. Okay. I don't know, it's still working that stuff? Okay, I'll tell Juan to be the guy who yeah, I think the last prize. It does produce some kind of to start letting people in. On the there are people waiting, so to start letting them in. Okay. Okay. So it's
You are the host now, so you are.
I mean, I'm also I'll be in charge if anything goes wrong.
No.
So Tal is going to be doing the speaking. He's going to be presenting the speaker, right?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yossi is.
But does that then mean that they're going to be on their own Zoom account, or because the reason I'm asking is I can pin people to then be on the main screen. So for instance, like now it's like this, but then I can say, okay, I want this sort of link.
This is the link that our has in something I don't think.
But the question is, so for instance, if I want this Nick Powell person to be the focus, I can remove the pin and then so look, I can then put this. Okay, this is my own screen. But look, now this one.
No, I understand what you mean.
So, but if Tal is going to be on his Zoom and then the person's going to be on the other Zoom, I need to know who the other person is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So I can pin them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll see everyone.
It's a woman. I don't remember the name, but let me see.
Okay. There's a F-Pass. Yeah. So let them in. This is F-Pass.
Yeah, you can let her in.
I'm just going to mute.
שלום דוקטור אורלב, אז אני זה שמנופף לך פה. אנחנו נתחיל ואחר כך נעביר את השורה לשגריר, בסדר?
בוודאי, בוקר טוב, צהריים טובים.
טל, אתה על מיוט. את ההתחלה שמענו, רק עברת לקראת הסוף למיוט. אתה עדיין על מיוט.
השתיקו אותי מבריסל.
Association and the European Jewish Association. We have today we have privilege to have today as a guest speaker the Israeli ambassador to the European Union and NATO, Mr. Chaim Regev, who will soon very shortly speak about the situation on the Israel's Hamas. And he will also give you some insights about the current Israel relations. But we are also, just to let you know, that this briefing is on the record. If there is anything that is off the record, the ambassador will tell you. But all this briefing is on the record. Also, we will have after the briefing into questions. This is our objective, to have a long time for questions. Also from the Zoom, because we have many people. But before the ambassador will speak, he wants to say a few words, and then we will have a link to Israel with Tal Rabina, who is the Director of Strategy of APA and EDA, who will also have a host there, who is the Director of the Schneider's Hospital. This is the biggest children's hospital where many children have been treated since their release. So please, Mr. Ambassador.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for coming. This is the second time that we're having this briefing. So first of all, I would like
to thank our host, Rabbi Margol and Yossi, for hosting us. And the purpose is, we are over 50 days since October 7th. And the purpose is to go maybe deep into things that happening. And as Yossi mentioned, from my perspective, everything is on record, so your life are going to be easy. In case that there is something off record, I will mention this is off record. Very few things will be off record, but most of them. And we will try to leave time to question as much as possible. And so I will give the floor now to Israel and then come back to my presentation.
Thank you. So we have from Israel, Mr. Tal Rabina, as I mentioned. Tal, do you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. Good day to you all in Brussels and wherever you are through the Zoom. We appreciate your time. We really want the ambassador to have the time to brief us all. So we'll be... Yossi, do you hear us? Do you get us?
Yes, I hear you, but we don't see.
Well, in my case, it's better to hear, not to see, as you know. But I hope it will be corrected in a minute. Here we can see Dr. Efrat Arlev, and here it's me. Hi, everybody, again. Thank you for giving us the time. I will be very, very brief. I will just update you that, unfortunately, this morning, 3 people were killed. Rabbinical judge, 74 years old, school headmaster, 67 years old, and a young student, 24 years old. They were killed by Hamas 2 terrorists that were released from Israeli jails. They were just standing in a bus station in the entrance of Jerusalem. Just imagine you are standing, for our friends from Brussels, just imagine you are standing waiting for the bus at Schumann Square, and suddenly a car stops and they're shooting at you. So again, unfortunately, 3 people were killed, 7 others were injured. In the northern front with Hezbollah, the IDF had to intercept another UAV that was launched from Lebanon. And in the south, there is still this ceasefire, but I guess that His Excellency the Ambassador will talk more about the south. So I would like to present our very, very, very busy host, a very busy guest, sorry, Dr. Efrat Brun-Harlev, who is, as you said, Yossi, the CEO of the Schneider Children's Medical Center. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Harlev. We know that you were treating all the youngsters that were coming back from captivity of the Hamas. Could you please tell us how many are in your medical center right now?
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this special conversation. It is very important for us to share with you what we're doing here. So as you said, we are a pediatric tertiary care hospital in Israel, the only standalone pediatric hospital in Israel that is serving children from the age of 0 to 18. And during the last week, we have received 25 of the returning hostages. 19 of them are children from the age of 3 to the age of 18. And we also received, of course, with them, when they came with them, their mothers and even one grandmother that came with them. So they were coming in different groups during this week. And as of today, we still have 17 of the hostages who came back at our center.
How are they? I understand that you must define between the physical and the mental situation. Is that the case?
Yes, well, to say how are they is a very general question, because as we treat each child or each person who comes to our hospital in every day, we cannot look at them as a conglomerate of people.
Of course.
It's very, very different to see a 4-year-old coming back from a captivity of 50 days and a 14-year-old who's coming back from a captivity of 50 days. They each have their own characters, their own ability to deal with what they're dealing. So a few things that I can say in general. Some of them are physical, that all of them came back extremely underweight, which means most of the children and the adults lost between 10 to 15% of their weight. We actually...
15% of their body weight?
Yes. So let's say that a child weighed 20 kilograms. Some of them lost 15% of those 20 kilograms. So you can imagine how skinny they got once they lose that much of a weight. They all came very pale, and we know that many of them were at least some periods of time, and some of them most of the time, underground and not overground. We know what they ate, and they ate very little. At this point, I do have to say, and it's important to understand this, because we are really not trying to look at this as a one-sided event, and it's unbelievable to hear those hostages saying that, yes, they were not eating and they were underground, and they can say at the same time very difficult things about their the people that were holding them, but they would also say, but they were not eating a lot as well, which is just unbelievable to me, to hear a 14 years old child hardly eating, but also saying, but the other people are not eating as well, which I think is extremely strong for such a person to say after 50 days in captivity. So this is and some other, I would say, happily minor physical things. Some of them had some, let's see,
branches.
Right, in different areas of their bodies. Most of them do not need to be treated, but still are there, and we look at all of them. But mostly, of course, is the emotional status that they're in. And one of the things that is interesting and pretty amazing and touching to see, and I'm following these people, these children, from the minute they land in the helicopter. So each time we receive them, I actually went to the helicopter, the heliport, and welcomed them on the helicopter, and then brought them into the hospital. And ever since, I'm here most of the time, and I see them very oftenly. So the first thing that I saw through my eyes, I'm a pediatric critical care physician. I try to explain it in words, but the best word that I could find for myself is that I saw shadows of people and not people. Really shadows of people, completely turned off, not smiling, having almost no mimics, not of course not laughing, but also not crying, not shouting, being very, very quiet. So imagine this 3-year-old child, after this horrific event, not crying, not screaming, not smiling, of course, just very, very quiet. And it's just not usual to see such a child.
some of the parents told us that the kids are whispering only.
Yes, so we've heard, yes, and that's true, some of them. But really all of them are just very, very quiet. And some of the things that we've heard is that they were told, and more than even told, they had to obey this request not to cry, not to speak, not to stand. Many of the the adults or the older children that are usually very strong children, it took them a while to stand on their feet because they hardly stood during these 50 days. So they're extremely weak. When they get up from a chair, it's like an old person that it takes them time to get up from the chair because they hardly use their muscles. But again, going back to their emotional status. So what we see here, first of all, we have very good conditions for them here, a very sterile atmosphere, no journalists, nobody comes into this ward without permission of us or of the family, of course. So, and really a very nice welcoming area for these children, with a certain area to eat in and a certain area to play in for the different ages. So they can have the time here to kind of get their basic lives back. And this is exactly what we see. So on the first, let's say 12 or 24 hours, they are, as I said, like shadows. And then suddenly you start seeing a child. You start hearing a small laugh. You start seeing them walking around the ward, having a bottle of chocolate milk or something, and then playing with something, want their grandmother to read them a story, sitting by the teddy bear if they're very young, or just talking to their friends on the phone if they're older. And you suddenly see them getting back to life. And I think it's pretty amazing. And it actually gives us strength as well as the caregivers to see how strong children are and how much strength they give us from the place that they came and the energy that they're receiving from us, but are actually giving us as well. It's amazing to hear very innocent stories of those children, even the young ones, of what they've had to do or shouldn't have done. So simple questions like, can I look out the window? Can I open this drawer? Can I step out of the room? And they are asking permission for those things, even though they're in a very safe place.
I know that some of them realize that their parents are gone. Do they know it already? I'm talking about kids like Abigail, 4 years old Abigail, that both of her parents were killed at the 7th of October, for example, and others.
So, Abigail is 4 years old. You know that her two siblings are alive, and the three of them are now orphaned from both parents. And she came back. You know the story of what happened to her. So she actually was not only kidnapped, but before she was kidnapped, she saw her parents being shot just next to her. She crawled under, I think it was her dad, I'm not sure, I think it was her dad, while he was shot, and simply ran to the neighbors. And then the neighbors were kidnapped and she was kidnapped with them. So it's not as if she was just kidnapped, she saw that event. So you cannot really approach a 4 years old and say, do you remember that event, and so on. There is a whole process of how you approach such a child to understand what she has in mind. And as a whole, as a whole, I'm just speaking too much.
We will let go in a minute, but
no,
thank you
fine.
Okay, thank
Fine.
you for that.
No,
We know how hard it is.
I'll say one more sentence, especially about Abigail, but not only about her. As you know, as people that are treating others, we always do that. First of all, we just watch them, we look at them to see how they are. Then we listen. Then we start really examining them. And only then do we ask questions. So I think that by this time, when only a few days went by, we listen. We are still not at the point of asking questions, especially not of the small children. So we listen to young children and the story that they say and tell, and it's not only Abigail, it's others as well. So they might say and tell the story of what happened in their home. And then while they tell it in a very precise way, after they finish telling the story in a very precise way, they would ask, "Where's my mom?" So it's a process of understanding. It cannot be done that you just say, "Your mom is gone." Yeah. So Abigail, for example, saw her family that was hugging her and taking care of her in a great way for the 3 days that she was with us, saw her siblings that came to visit her. And of course, they know they're a little older than her, not much older than her. They haven't spoken about it between themselves, but you know, she went home with her aunt and uncle. So I think there is this process of making such young children understand that they will not see their parents anymore.
Thank you so much, Dr. Efrat Arlev, for sharing this with us. And we sure are going to get back to you in the coming days and hope to hear some more and hopefully some better things about those kids. Thank you so much for taking care of them. It's really amazing and a lot of inspiration you give us all. And must remember that there's still Kfir, a baby 10 months old, Ariel, a young kid 4 years old, that are kidnapped and with their parents, Shiri and Yarden. As some of you might recall, yesterday the Hamas announced that they are dead. We hope that it would turn out to be just like with Mrs. Hana Katzir, that they announced her death before, but fortunately enough, she was released on the 24th of October. So we are really hoping for the best. And there is also a 17 years old young Bedouin youngster that was kidnapped with her father and a brother from one of the kibbutzim. Dr. Arlev, thank you so much. And
thank you very much. Thank you for listening. It's important to us. Thank you so much.
Yossi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Arlev. Thank you, Tal. Just one word before the ambassador will speak. For those who are viewing it online, please use the chat facility to ask your question. So, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Okay, you saw it. And one of our biggest missions right now to remind the international community why and how this war started. There is a growing erosion on those basic facts. We spare from you today the atrocities. You know, we have clips and video cams that show from October 7th. I watched this 47 minutes, we call it a horrific footage movie. And I have to tell you that besides the brutality, one of the things that struck me there was the joy of those terrorists even of Hamas, will come and keep killing people, 3,000. Look at this number. The number that will murder, the number that would kidnap, and we will go to that. And this is something that in the last few weeks, we see some erosion in understanding when it starts. And people looking into the scenes in Gaza, what's going on in Gaza, and we talk about Gaza, but we need to go back to this day. No other country, no other nation, not talking about the big wars, that in 20 hours or 24 hours suffered such brutality. I will show you a short clip. Huh? Yeah. Okay. When I speak about no, I will show you a short clip from the interrogation of one of the terrorists. Very short one. Okay, let's talk. When I speak about erosion, I'm sure that all saw this statement by the Irish Prime Minister. This is ridiculous. Lost and found. I will not go into, but come on. This is exactly the point where even something that is extremely clear. How old is she? 9 years old. She was kidnapped by Hamas. She was not lost and found. And this is the official statement by the Prime Minister of Ireland. Then they have some explanation, it's black and white. This is the erosion that I talk about, because some leaders, some politicians start to make this political calculation for any reason. And nobody can accept that. And this is exactly how Hamas exploit this asymmetric war. And we'll talk about Gaza again. They know exactly to press the exact button that will lead to pressure over Israel to stop this war. And unfortunately, they have some success on that. And it should be very, very clear. And this is something that we keep reminding people. You saw the head of the children's hospital in Israel, what she said about those kids. So how can it be described otherwise? Another thing, another example. We didn't hear anything. Again, I don't want to share with you, I will spare with you the evidence on sexual harassment, using women as a tool. Terrible stories. Every other day we discover more and more stories that happen. Every day we get more and more terrible stories. And only, I think yesterday, the Secretary General of the UN said something about it. But for we are more than almost 2 months, more than 50 days, no women organization condemning. We didn't hear anything. It's go behind double standard. I don't know how to explain that. We are a democratic country. We show evidence. We do not tell stories. So again, going into making those calculations of what, and this is a moral failing. And we need all the time to keep struggling, show things, and to bring back the world or those places back to the basic. And this will bother us more than what's going on the ground. It's not a war between two democracies. It's a war between democratic country and their organization. And this is something that we keep bringing it up again and again and again. In some cases, it's complicated. So let me say a few words about where we stand with the war. The objectives are three basic objectives to the war that start on October 7, unprovoked war, destroy military and governmental capability of Hamas, bring back all the hostages, and contain other fronts, which means that will not be spill over into West Bank or to Lebanon, and also, and again, I will refer to. And those are the main goals. And right now, the first phase, they're still at the first phase where Israel is the North Gaza. This is 1/3 of Gaza. This is the 2/3. This is Gaza City. Here they have the main headquarters, facilities, training, whatever. There are also other areas where they are located, the Hamas. And right now, we are on humanitarian force, where we have hostages. And we determine to continue this war. The goal of Hamas is to stop this war. And again, I will go back to that. You have to understand that when I think about asymmetric war, Hamas used every single facility to counter our troops. And we have a true, we look into kindergarten, mosque, hospital, schools, UNRWA facilities. So again, the more our IDF going inside on the ground invasion, they use every single place. There is a destruction, a massive destruction in Gaza. Because almost every other building used by Hamas. And again, it goes back to the fact that they're sophisticated enough and smart enough to use this, that there will be enough pressure on Israel to stop this. There was a long discussion about hospitals. We have evidence. And again, it's about time that some of the international community started with our, proof that we bring journalists to come and see. There are more than 500 kilometers of tunnels under. Some of them, or many of them, hospital. And again, they use most of the headquarters under hospital, kindergarten, schools, because they knew that from air, we know there to strike those facilities. They know it. They use exactly the point, and they watch very carefully. It's not an isolated organization sits somewhere far. They know exactly where are the places to locate their main rockets, headquarters, commanders, because they know that Israel from there will not strike those places. But when we, in the ground operation, we know exactly where they're located, and this is the reason why we are going into mosques, into hospitals, into all those facilities. Because there is no other way to eliminate Hamas capability. On the humanitarian efforts, of course, Hamas keeps saying it again and again and again, using Palestinians as a human shield. Our war is against Hamas. is not against the Palestinians. And Hamas, again, understand that. They understand that the only way to stop Israel, the more innocent Palestinian uninvolved will be killed. This is their exit strategy. This is the point that they know that the number will go high, then there will be pressure on Israel to stop this war. And this is one of our biggest challenges, how to continue this war, abiding to the international law, humanitarian law, trying to avoid as much as we can. We're doing that. Like any other Western military armed forces. So the best way to do it is to ask the population to move to the south, to safe zone. To enter, then we are not through a humanitarian corridor that we assure them that we are not going to harm them. I can tell you that in any military formal confrontation, Hamas activists and our soldiers, they are losing. They are not matching to our idea. In no way. They conduct these horrific terror attacks, atrocities against civilians, against men, all. But when it's come to direct clash, and they did not expect that. They saw that the Israeli society is maybe too fragile, that Israel will not dare to go inside, because in the West we for life, we are not for death, and they don't have any problem to sacrifice or whatever. So they saw that as a Western company, a society pro-life, that we will not dare to go round. And they were wrong. But in any single military confrontation, they are losing. And that's some of militia terrorists that were killed during this confrontation. So we try as much as we can to avoid, there is no other way. There is no other way to conduct this military operation without asking the uninvolved population to move to the south on those corridors. So there is humanitarian zone here, and there are some other areas. This is the only way to confront them directly. And they are trying, or they are doing many efforts to stop the population to go to the south. They do not care for their own people. If I can call it as their own people, they do not care. So we keep saying Palestine to Israel, not for Hamas. So this war, in an awkward way, is also the war for the Palestinians living in Gaza, not Hamas. And so we try as much as we can to avoid that, ask them to move to the south, some work to do here. There are still some militias at stake, and there will be another phase in the south. And we are not there yet. No, we're not there yet. Okay. Hostages. This is one of the most sensitive issues and topics. And when Hamas entered Israel, people say that what was the logic behind what they did? It's not rational for a terror organization to do this kind of act and think that they will somehow succeed to get out of it without paying any price. So one of the main tools they did, because they know how much the Israeli society, not only the Western society, is extremely sensitive to the life of hostages. And one of the things that maybe crossed their mind was, let's take hostages, Israel will return, but we use it as a tool, again, exit strategy. It's a tool to press Israel not to proceed, not to continue with the war, and of course release their own prisoners. And I will refer to it. So right now, one of the things that happened, and again, I don't think that they expect that it will be successful military ground operation. This is one of the reasons why we have today those exchange We start with 240, more than 240. Now there are still 140, 45. Let's see how long it will take. Maybe 2-3 more days. We are now watching it. Our main focus was the first day to release children and women, and a few other more. And we hope to finish this phase. But Israel is there after that to continue the military operation. They're not going to stop. And so we hope that it will be through during this quarter, and if not, we will keep having this military operation the next phase. And again, when I speak about moral comparison between exchanging prisoners, so on one hand, you see kids, babies. On the other hand, you see terrorists. We have a legal system. Those people who sit in prison in Israel, they were convicted. They went to a trial. They were convicted by attempting or do any kind of terrorism. So this is what we're talking about. And again, this is another thing that we try to explain. This is not exchange of prisoners. It's kids, hostages, and terrorists. Still, Israel decided to pay the price from terrorism, but this is the bottom line. And as I mentioned, we are keep working on that. And you heard the head of the hospital for kids. More than 50 days, and we still have many of them, not kids, but others that in our hospitals. But we'll keep working on them. Let's continue. Few words about the north. At the end of the road, this is up to Iran to decide if we will go for scale war with Hezbollah or not. So Hezbollah joined the party, but not in a full scale attack, which means we have days, every day we have some file exchange. Every day they're trying, but short of opening full-scale war. We do not have any intention to go for a full-scale war despite this threat, but on the other hand, we are ready for that. There is, I need also to mention, there are more than 100,000 Israelis that were evacuated from their homes in the north and in the south. From this area, more than 80,000 Israelis left their homes few kilometers down. And there is internal pressure in Israel, once and for all, also to solve the threat from Hezbollah. So there are two ways to avoid attack by Hezbollah. And by the way, Hamas used the same method that was planned by Hezbollah, which means there's a special process, they call it one, that's ready to go inside and capture some villages, military posts, and then use it as a tool to press Israel. So there is a dilemma, either to solve it by using military force, but there is another force, it's supposed to be simple, but not smart, implementing Security Council decision 1701. It was after the withdrawal of Israel from Lebanon, 2006, after the last war in Lebanon. And it says something very simple, 3 or 4 items. That Hezbollah will take its troops to the north, deploy uniform UN forces, de-arm Hezbollah, and there is a blue line. There is no conflict. There is no territorial conflict over Lebanon, in Israel and Lebanon. We also solved the maritime dispute. So there are two options. And the best option is to solve it diplomatically by implementing this resolution. So the international community should put pressure on Iran, on Hezbollah, on Lebanon, on every actor to implement this resolution. Otherwise, very soon we find ourselves in another armed conflict. And the meaning of armed conflict is the massive destruction in Lebanon. Because the power capability that Hezbollah have several times higher than what Hamas. Now, if we zoom out, this is the story of this war, or one of the stories of this war, and it goes to Iran. And what we see here, that Iran using a failed state to build power proxies to push their ideology or to press Israel or whatever. So what we see here is that, let's check Yemen, the Houthis, one of the poorest countries in the world. They have cruise missiles. I don't know how many European countries have cruise. They fire cruise missiles from Yemen to Israel, 1,000 kilometers, surface to surface. There are several dozen of thousands of Houthis where most of the Yemenis are starving, 30 million or whatever. So Iran is using the same method, using a failed state, financing a rich and aggressive proxies. Actually, it's an army on the back of the people there. So this is one example. Another example is Lebanon. Hezbollah, 50,000 or whatever they have, it's a failed state. But Hezbollah is one of its army, actually. The same goes in Syria, in Iraq, and in Gaza. Let's go to the next slide. And you see where you have, on one hand, Iran that trying and controlling Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza, and on the other hand, you have the other part. On this, I would like to say that at the end of the road, if you look into this map, the biggest threat to the regimes around Israel, let's say the moderate Sunni regime, there are two main threats. One is Iran, and the second one is radical Islam, and most of the case supported by Iran. Because Hamas, Israel pay high price, but for us, it's external threat that we will manage. But to most of those regimes, it's external threat. So this war, of course, is our war, Israel war, but there will be impact on the region. Because Hamas is a branch of Muslim Brotherhood. And if today, theoretically, you go to election in the region, free election, I'm not sure that they are not going to take control over some of those countries. And we saw this example in Egypt, and we saw this example in Gaza, Tunisia, and other places. So, this war, again, this is our war, but the implication go much behind this specific area in Gaza. The day after, we got many questions about the day after. One thing I can assure you, as long as Hamas is there, there is no day. There is no day after. We cannot talk about the day after as long as Hamas is there. And let's go to the most, let's say, I think one of the most important things in all this presentation, ceasefire. Ceasefire is a way for Hamas. Let's imagine what's happening tomorrow morning. Okay, Hamas is there. And you know who's going to lose first and foremost? The people of Gaza. Because no country is going to put ends ever into Gaza as long as Hamas there controlling, and Israel will not allow it. The meaning of ceasefire, Hamas still in power. So we can talk about political solution, we can talk about many things. This will start not because there is lack of political solution, two-state solution of end. There is no territorial dispute between Israel and Gaza. There was not single Israel since 1947. So this is why we keep fighting against this notion of ceasefire. This is exactly when Hamas started this attack. They want to reach this point. They don't care how many Palestinians will be killed. It doesn't matter. It goes back to, I don't know if I shared this with you, before the war, before October 7, Israel gave permits to almost 20,000 people from Gaza to work inside Israel. The average wage salary in Israel daily is around 70 to 80 euros. In Gaza, it's 10 to 12 euros. It means that those 20,000 people fed, I don't know, 300,000, 400,000 people in Gaza. On top of it, Israel allowed Qatar to give money to people in Gaza. On top of it, Israel pushed for mega project for Gaza, action plan and Gaza. I know because I personally work on it with the EU. Gas for Gaza, money. So the concept was, okay, there is a organization, but you know, with economic incentive and that, you know, they will relax whatever will happen. But it didn't happen because while we're doing that, they planned this attack for more than 2 years. So talking about some rational organization, some ceasefire, this is why we keep saying that Hamas is there. There is no actor. Hamas is a popular movement. I personally think that if there will be election in the West Bank, there is a good chance that they will win. So they must be defeated. This is the only hope for the Palestinians themselves, or for us, of course. So talking about ceasefire and not understanding the notion behind that, this is the meaning. So when they conduct this terror attack on October 7th, they know exactly there will be some point where there will be pressure over Israel. International pressure. Because of the destruction in Gaza, because of the innocent that were unfortunately killed during this operation. They know exactly how the West or the international community working and what is the point to press Israel and the international community. So this is the meaning of ceasefire. And there is no hope for the Palestinians as long as Hamas for Gaza and as well for the West Bank. But not only for the people of Gaza. I show you the larger map. It will inspire also others in the Arab world, in some of those countries. And the reason is that they have stabilized those places. And it's going also to inspire Europe. When we talk about Europe, inspire not much. We show that it's going to inspire some radical elements inside Europe. This is the meaning of stopping leadership of Hamas, waiting be still controlling that. So we must continue to keep this work. So peace initiative and declaration are good to them, but we have to be rational. And there is another thing that kind of peace initiative not the peace initiative, but we have the initiative to gain trust. And now it's off record. So if Spain offers to come and have some peace initiative, and on the other hand, the Prime Minister today of Spain said, we are going to recognize Palestinian state. For us, it's not a balanced approach. So this initiative, I don't know how much this peace initiative will be relevant. Because if you want to push the peace initiative, you have to get the trust on both sides. So once you are biased, one you are standing totally with one side, so you can suggest as any peace initiative that you want. Again, declare peace initiative between Luxembourg and Belgium. So what? So again, this part is off record, but all the rest, let's continue. EU-Israel. I have to say that we keep getting strong support. I think the leadership of the EU understand the thing that I say here, even all the parts. I'm talking EU as an EU leadership. I visit Israel with Metzola and von der Leyen for president, and a week ago, almost a week ago, with Boris. So for us, those visits was important, was good, and we see the support, we see all the declaration statement on October 15 and then October 19 and the EU review and the parliament and council conclusion. There is an understanding. Part of the, I think, positive momentum trend that we have with the EU is much more practical, pragmatic, understand, and I can tell you influence on us than before. When I say trust, relevancy or not relevancy for peace initiative, once we have good commute, and we have it with EU leadership, then the EU can be much more effective, much more influential, and those visits of solidarity, meeting with our leadership, important for Israel, but also important to maintain this momentum in those relations. I just want to conclude, to understand what we are facing with the interview with one of the Hamas top leaders. So this is what we are facing. Okay, so I'll stop here and let's open it for questions.
Thank you, the Reger. We will start with questions from the room here. Please identify yourself.
Patricia Heim, International Movement for Peace and Coexistence. I have a question. Do you have any details about Gaza? Because Hamas is now almost 20 years watching their children with the school books, etc. Summer camps for the children we know. Do you have any intel of how many of the percentage of the Gaza people are now with for Hamas? and not just like you try to explain to us the Palestinians, the good Palestinians. That it's very difficult to see the difference for us. Thank you. I got two quick questions. Today, Blinken will be in Tel Aviv. Supposedly, will be asking for him to prolong the truce. From what you're saying, the impression is that the answer will be no. This is the right impression. And the other question is, you were talking about the EU and how much the EU was close to Israel in these past weeks. What about the High Representative? Joseph Borrell to just visit Israel and was not there before, and he was criticized, as you know, in the past weeks.
Not good clarity. Part of that one pattern which directly to the previous question. On Monday, there was a meeting of the Mediterranean Union in Barcelona, and in the press conference, we heard using Israel and terrorism and genocide. With the co-organizer of the conference, the High Representative Borrell standing beside him and not speaking up. He did not intervene. I'd like to know your thoughts. And my right to world democracy. You mentioned that it was an election in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria. The Hamas, an opinion poll said that 80% of Palestinian Arabs strongly support the Hamas action. So my question is, what is being done to influence Arab opinion? Because once this war is over, you need to change the minds of people. Second question is, I write on European democracy and how it began. We had 2,000 years of war here. We had religious wars, we had invasions, we had all sorts of hereditary wars. And now we're living in the longest peace we've ever had. Have you learned anything from the European experience that could be used in the Near East? Regarding the first question about Hamas, the polarity, going election, etc. Hamas is a terror organization, but also social organization. Have their own welfare, brainwash, using mosques, using textbooks. The EU about looking into education, because those people, those 3,000 people that come and kill Jews, murder, not all of them, many of them. Some of them use drugs, you know it, but also from the world. They educate some of them in UNRWA school to hate Israel. So when we keep saying, this stuff, we need to start with the education system. We need, since the Europe, not only EU, but Europe, give a lot of money to Gaza, used to give a lot, give in the future, and also to the West Bank, keep saying, look into the education system. Because if we want to see something, it start when they are small and young. Patriots start in kindergarten, in school, mosque. So so today again, Hamas is popular, as well as West Bank, Arab Palestinian. Start again, because there is also criticism inside the Palestinian society about the Palestinian Authority, about the Fatah. A lot of internal criticism.
So I think that we should look into it after the war, where the money goes and what's going on in the educational system. As for expanding the policies, if we expand the policies only in order to bring down more hospitals. So the only way right now, no Israeli leader, military, the public saying that the war should stop now. Because it goes back that if we enter the war today and still there is a threat from Gaza by Hamas, for us, it's a victory for Hamas. But it's not a victory for Hamas. It's a threat that all this war is about to eliminate this threat. So maybe there will be one or two or whatever protests, but there is no intention from our side to stop it as long as we will not complete this mission of bringing about the hostages and eliminating their military and governmental capability. As for EU, correct? Of course, there are different perspectives inside the EU about what's going on. Some of the officials put more focus on international, on humanitarian aspect, and others put on other. But the bottom is that there is a clear position of the EU on October 26th, October 26th, by European Council, the leaders, the 27 leaders of Europe. It's a clear decision. So as long as any EU official goes along those lines, sometimes more close to the left side, sometimes close to the center, and I don't think personally that Borrell went behind that. I was with him in Israel. He had his own way to express things, but he didn't go behind the line that was draft and agreed by the 27 leaders of the EU. UFM, we didn't like this gathering. UFM, this structure, think about regional cooperation, and the focus was only about what's happening in Gaza. This was you cannot hijack this platform forum and focusing only on one thing that we know from the beginning if you have many Arab leaders. And so there is no way that it will benefit the purpose of this organization. So we asked to change our agenda. It was not changed, and we decided not to participate. Regarding the statement by the foreign minister of Jordan, I think that this is the interest of Jordan as well, that we will eliminate Hamas capability. And again, it's always easy to blame Israel for doing that. Because, again, as a democratic country, we abide to the international humanitarian law, and it's very easy to criticize us. I don't want to use this platform to say anything about region that surrounding Israel. But I can assure you that this is also the interest of other countries, states in the Middle East, that we will complete this job of eliminating Hamas capability. Sorry, is it okay? I will not. I cannot judge him standing there saying what he's not saying. I'm looking into what he said or did not say already. And we have strategic alliance with Jordan and with Egypt. So that's some statement. Some of them we don't like at all, and we prefer. And this is part of the thing that when I say we have good relations with the EU, we turn from we call it megaphone diplomacy between quarreling over the media into more deep internal exchange. And I can tell you that we had good commute with Borrell himself, with Borrell cabinet. There were several phone calls since the war started between Elcon, our foreign minister, and Borrell. So we are finding the way to say things we do not like. This is part of the thing. When I say that our relation is better, is that we know how to commute the messages in the right channel, and not necessarily to start, call over the media. Regarding, I mean, back to changing the way that people are thinking, the only thing that we can do is looking into the education system and what's specifically Europe. About 2,000 years of what we can learn from the history of Europe. I hope, I can take the example of Germany. The Nazis, for Germany, the most horrific thing against Jews. But the relation today with Israel and Germany, we have, if I compare to other countries in Europe in the world, we have excellent. I think most of the majority of the Israelis think positively about Germany. It was a long process of reconciliation, and I think it's done in a good way. So our main problem today is that it's very complicated to duplicate this model into the Middle East. We are not Belgium. Our neighbors are not Netherlands, France, Germany, Luxembourg. We are the only democracy in the Middle East. We have election, we have judiciary system, we abide with the international law, and this is one of our biggest challenges that I try to show you. So I wish that we were all around. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for many Muslims to accept the fact that there is a strong Jewish state in the middle of it. You saw what this guy said. So it's not only political. I hope that in some stage, we will reach this point. So talking about, sorry, they should go back to Gaza. One of the things that really astonished them, it's a trauma for Israelis, not only because of the brutality, but also because they have the idea, the Russians, they have some Russians. Maybe they care for their people. Maybe someday, look also into Lebanon. There is no territorial dispute between Israel and Lebanon. And simply you have all the cases, how many times, you get threat. It's happening in Gaza, it's happening in Lebanon, it's happening in the West Bank, which means instead of having this with Lebanon, because there is no territorial dispute. Instead of telling Gaza, Singapore, Hong Kong, the organization that is harming our own citizens. So we have to be practical and pragmatic. We are not in the heart of Europe, and it will take time.
Two more questions. Two questions. The first one, the main accusation by some EU officials, Borrell, for example, Michel too, is that you are not abiding to international law. So you are saying again and again that you are abiding, but on the other side, we in Brussels, you are saying that you are not abiding. And there is a problem of proportionality, because what you are doing in Gaza, thousands of them. So what is your answer on that point? The second point is second phase in the south. How can you manage the second phase in the south? Are you going to moving
again all the population of the north, which is quite in a mess right now. Are you going to push them out of Gaza? How can, let's say, abide for the EU standards of international law successfully?
So that brings me to my question. Same question that David said about the construction in that if the ground will continue. I mean, after that where the population will be crowded. And about the active strategy, that was one of David's concerns. David to say that you have this from position, and go ahead to have his concerns about the lack of an active strategy. And the question is, how can the EU trust the current Israeli government if it refuses to discuss an active strategy based on the two-state solution? With Israel, in fact, in the past, everything.
Mara Jones, Euronews. On the International Criminal Court, the prosecutor Khan has claimed in this week that he has jurisdiction over the Palestinian territories, and that he wants to investigate both the October 7th attack as well as some of the events that have since then in Gaza. The UK and the US have already said in the past that they don't recognise the court's jurisdiction over Gaza, but Commissioner Lenarchich actually told the press conference that the EU does support the work of the court. So my question to you is, how do you respond to that comment from the European Union that they support the work of the ICC, including potential investigation into war crimes committed in this conflict?
First of all, the question about Biden, humanitarian law, and proportionality. If you have any idea how to do it without doing it clean, I mean, which means combating only the terrorists without by actually combating only the terrorists, if there was any idea, we would be more than happy to do it, which means we are doing our best. There is a legal department in the IDF that's watching carefully every place. But when we talk about international humanitarian law, you have to understand that Gaza is one military base used by Hamas. It's not that we have a walk in the park, or we have a war in an area that's outside an urban every second by Hamas. There is no other way to combat them by a direct interaction. We try our best, whatever we can, to announce and to let the people there know that we are coming and they should leave the area. And if we're talking about humanitarian law, if you use the mosque or school to arm civilians in Israel, to launch a rocket, or to use it as a base. So we should skip it. We should ignore it. So talking about humanitarian law, we are, as the army, military, and defense forces, I think I don't want to compare us to other Western military. But we definitely, when I say we do in our best, we are warning the civil community to move, not to stay, and risking our property by that. Which means because we are saying area of neighborhood, we are coming because we know that there are some military base of Hamas there, so we should go. Which means we say exactly from where we are coming. Proportionality. After what happened in Israel, October 7th. So, unfortunately, there is no easy way. I wish that Hamas will come out and fight against our soldiers, our military, but they do not do it. They are not doing that. So this is what we have. Regarding the second phase of the war, I am not going into details, but I can share with you about the exit strategy. Israel is not intending to stay in Gaza forever. How long it will take, it's very hard now to judge, but I can tell you that we do not have intention to stay there for the long run. And once we will target the main outpost military capability, we will be sure that there is no threat. We left Gaza almost 2 decades ago not to stay there. Not to stay there. So we don't have any intention to go back and stay there. About the ICC, there were war crimes conducted by Hamas, no doubt. Right now, we are in the middle of the war. It's not the time to discuss it. Not the time to discuss it, and we'll come back to it after we accomplish our mission. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay. No.
Thank you, Mr. Amber. Some progress with the chief data. We see that the Netherlands is lobbying for maybe even sanctions towards settlers in the website. And it's difficult to see what they are exactly doing, but it looks like a plan for the day after. And first of all, I want to know your view on this. And second, do they agree with you that the day after is after Hamas is? Do they agree with that? Well, the European countries, they agree with it, that there is no day after like the both Islamists there.
And regarding the violence, we condemn it, but we don't like the fact that in this stage there is comparison. You compare, you put it in the same scale, the atrocities, Hamas terrorists, and violence by as I mentioned, we are a democratic country. We condemn this phenomena. We are working against it. Our security forces, our police, and I think that in the last 3-4 weeks we don't see much of it because we saw that there is this phenomena is going, and we work aggressively against that. Now at this stage, to raise it, mention it like it's in the same scale that terrorists by terrorists, atrocities, and violence per second, I don't think this is the time to put it on the same scale. Again, regarding the day after, we think right now it's too far to go into what should be the solution, what should be the political solution. Because again, looking back into the history since Oslo 93, one of the main obstacles to achieve this ultimate goal, two-state solution, if we look back, it was Hamas. Terror attacks. There were other reasons why we didn't reach this point. I don't want to go into political and give grades to either, but there is no doubt that Hamas was one of the main reasons why we are not there. with the suicide bomber, with the terror attacks. Because at the end of the road, the Israeli citizens, they want to have a peaceful life. They do not want to see any terror attacks. So once you expect Israel to do some kind of compromise, expect that we will feel that we have a safe life. So as long as we do not get those guarantees, when I say as long as Hamas is there, as long as Hamas is there, so any concession that we're going to do will not lead to this ultimate goal that we will live in peace and security. And I gave you two examples. It's not even ideology. West Bank, Judea, let's go to the basics. Every time let's look into my kids. I was there, and during those I joined the Israeli Minister for the first 93 conference, the Oslo process, and we were sure that in a few years we're going to have there will be two states over there. It didn't happen. There are many reasons why, but it was a big ideological argument in terms of Israel. Today, I look into the young generation, to my kids in their 20s, and they look back and they tell me, every time that Israel were willing to do any compromise, our internal situation is different. We got some, terror attacks, it's happened when we go from Gaza, it's happened when we go from unilaterally from Lebanon, and also so now coming to different public and speak about two-state solution after those atrocities, we are not at this stage. I mean, Europe, this is part of the common position of the EU, and President von der Leyen mentioned 2 days ago in Politico. Okay, this is part of the stand of the EU, we understand that, but we're still not there.
We have the last series of questions from viewers online. So
yeah, just to wrap up, because we know the ambassador has a very tight and busy schedule. We have a few questions from some of the people that were following us on Zoom this whole time. The first one comes from Elliot Chapman from Jane's Defense, and he's asking, Mr. Ambassador, unless Hamas is comprehensively defeated, it will remain a threat. Does Israeli leadership believe that they can destroy Hamas military infrastructure without conducting ground operations in the south of the Gaza Strip? That's the first one. The second one is coming from Bernat Garcia from the Spanish from Economía Digital. And he's saying, what is the current relationship with Spain after the statements of its premier, Pedro Sánchez? And would you support Pedro Sánchez engaging in a more important role or job in the EU or NATO? And last but not least, from Bojan Panchevsky from the Wall Street Journal. He's got two questions in one, saying, was there a cyber attack as part of October 7th invasion on Israel? And is there any indication of Iranian involvement in there? And how many civilians used the Hamas attack on October the 7th to cross into Israel and commit crimes, including kidnapping? Thank you.
It's very hard to see how we complete this mission of eliminating Hamas without going to the south. But again, when I say south, there are some areas not necessarily to go all the way, and there are some certain areas. I don't want to go into the military plans, but right now in Israel, we do not see Hamas leadership wake up tomorrow and say, okay, we see what's happening in the north. We cannot match the Israeli idea, so we're giving up, leaving our weapon and going to tackle whatever. It's not going to happen. So there is no other alternative just to keep having this military operation. And we have disagreement with Spain with the new government, but we have no relation with Spain. We have no relation with Spain, historic relation. So right now, it's not black and white. And there are going to be some, in the near future, political disagreement. But on the other hand, again, those relations goes behind politics. So we need to wait and see. It's up to Spain. But if Spain wants to be relevant, a player, they need to be balanced. And if from our perspective they are not balanced, so I don't think how much they can be relevant as long as we do not see them as a balanced player. I will not go into the issue of cyber attacks, but I can tell you that according to our number, more than 3,000 Palestinians crossed Gaza, from Gaza crossed the border into Israel and participate. Many of them murdering, raping, slaughtering, others looting. And so this is the number that we have. And for Iran involvement, without Iran, this could not happen. I mean, Iran financing 90% of the budget of Hamas. Iran invests more than $1 billion a year in those proxies, the map that I show you. Specifically, planning the data, we do not have evidence at this stage. When I say without Iran, it wouldn't happen because it's financing 90% of the budget of Hamas. Specifically, planning the day and the time and this specific attack, we do not have evidence for that. But again, back to the zoom out, the one that I show you, Iran is there everywhere. And there are some elements about disagreement with the EU. So we know how much EU stuff we got, but there are some elements in the EU that think that there should be a dialogue, an open dialogue with Iran or whatever, content or whatever. I disagree with this approach. I think that there should be maximum pressure on Iran because at the end of the road, this is ideological regime and goes back to what happened in Gaza and goes back to the basics. If somebody said that he wants to kill you, those are when they mean it. And they're just waiting for the chance that it will happen. So if this extreme regime in Iran called to eliminate Israel, we should take it very seriously. And what's happening in Gaza, we cannot judge them according to our Western rationality. We cannot. Because I show you that in Gaza, they could have a good life. I can tell you that in Gaza, their economic countries more less than Africa. Compared to many, many other places. But it didn't matter for the leadership of Hamas. We do not blame all the people of Gaza for participating, for terrorists. This is not what we're saying. They are hostage, many of them, to those extremists. And the only hope for the people of Gaza that we will complete this mission and eliminate Hamas. Otherwise, they don't have any hope. It sounds a little bit, maybe I will not say the good thing, but what happened there is that Hamas broke the status quo that maybe will open the door for a better future for the people of Gaza, not in the short term. Without completing the mission, the Israeli one, it will not happen. So back to Iran, this is part of the overall picture of what's going on there. Any other questions? And I just want to thank you all and see you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, and thank you for attending this question. Thank you.